Listen up, from now on, you've got to make do with an electricity bill of $14 and food expenses of just $2 a day. Don't spend a dime on cosmetics or clothes. My husband, Jasper, yells this at me, and I can't believe his demands. This is totally doable. If you can't manage this, then you're just incompetent. As Jasper makes these ridiculous demands, something inside me snaps. Who on earth could live on such an amount? I decide to let him experience firsthand how unrealistic his expectations are. I'm determined to fight back. My name is Lila Morgan, a 32-year-old homemaker. After high school, I attended a vocational school and graduated successfully. I then worked for a company, but it was so toxic that I ended up suffering mentally. After about 2 years, I resigned. For a year, I received unemployment benefits while looking for a job, but couldn't find a good company. During that time, I discovered remote work and started freelancing as an engineer. I had a background in IT, so it was my field of expertise. Initially, I took on simple and low-paying jobs to build up my experience. The pay was just pocket money at first, so I worked part-time jobs alongside freelancing. After about a year and a half, I started earning as much as a regular employee's salary, stuck at home working. I had no chance of meeting anyone, and before I knew it, I turned 30. That's when I met Jasper at a dear friend's wedding. The vows, the first bite of the cake, speeches by friends and letters to parents, all made me feel joyful too. At the reception, I happened to sit next to Jasper. He seemed grumpy and cold at this lively event, which was my first impression of him. But a while into the party, he handed me a Band-Aid. "Why?" I asked, surprised. "Your foot looks painful," he responded curtly, glancing at my blistered foot. "Oh, thanks, it's no big deal," I replied. "But why do girls wear such cumbersome shoes?" "I don't even like heels that much, but they go better with a dress, right?" "I wouldn't know about that," Jasper laughed with a playful yet gentle smile. I found myself irresistibly drawn to his slightly mischievous but kind laughter. As the party wound down and I was about to leave, Jasper, blushing to his ears, sheepishly asked, "Hey, want to exchange numbers?" "Sure," I replied, feeling shy but excited. From that day, we started communicating frequently, went on dates, and began a relationship. Jasper had always lived with his parents, so it became a routine for us to go to my apartment where I lived alone. Before I knew it, Jasper had moved into my place, and we inadvertently started living together. On our second anniversary, Jasper asked, "Sally, will you marry me?" I was so happy I wanted to jump for joy. I immediately said yes. With our marriage, I quit my job. Originally, my husband was what is commonly referred to as a domineering husband. "I'll earn the money, you take care of the house, men should work and women should stay home." He's the type of person with that kind of mindset. I was hesitant to become a homemaker since I had just got my career on track, but both his mother and mine were homemakers. I didn't mind cooking and laundry, and I thought it would be nice to be a stay-at-home mum when we had kids. I figured I could return to work once the kids were older. We had a peaceful marriage without major fights, but one thing about Jasper bothered me. He was extremely frugal. For example, he would say, "Don't buy anything from vending machines or convenience stores." "They are too expensive," Jasper would say, essentially forbidding purchases from such places. I could understand that, but he also insisted that furniture should be second-hand. "Spending more is a waste," he'd say. So we furnished our new home mostly with used items. With Jasper being so stingy, he never allowed me to spend on fashion. When I got a haircut after a year, he muttered, "You got your haircut? Women cost so much money, and it's all my money." I was hoping for a compliment, but was dismayed by his first comment. I felt disgusted by his remark. I didn't have any money of my own to spend and often felt envious of others. Then we faced a major challenge. We were unable to have children. "Why can't we have a kid?" Jasper would angrily question. He became increasingly irritable each day, seemingly anxious about not having children. I wasn't as worried as Jasper. I believed children were a blessing that didn't come to everyone. If we couldn't have them, we could still enjoy life together, maybe travel every year. Children weren't everything. However, Jasper's frustration grew, and he became more hostile toward me. With a frown and a look of suspicion, he said, "Isn't it your fault somehow?" "How could it be me? Why do you think it's my fault?" Most infertility issues are usually with the woman. Nowadays, it's about 50-50ths between men and women. It's not necessarily my fault alone. "Hey, Jasper, if you really want kids, why don't we go to a doctor?" I suggested. I was over 30 and didn't want to argue about who was at fault. If we knew the cause, we could seek treatment and maybe clear up some of the uncertainty. But Jasper shouted, "It must be your problem. Go to the doctor by yourself. If we both go, it'll cost more for the tests." Reluctantly, I went to the hospital alone and got tested. The results showed no abnormalities. A few days later, I reported the test results to Jasper. "I got tested, and there's nothing wrong with me. The doctor said to bring you next time, Jasper. Why don't you come? A lot of men were there. It's not embarrassing," I said, thinking of his desire for children. He didn't take kindly to this suggestion. "What are you saying? It's my fault." "No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a possibility, so let's check." "There's no way it's my fault. It's probably because you're getting older. They say a woman's fertility drops sharply after 30. It's your fault, not mine." I was chilled by his aggressive response. I had never seen my husband so unreasonable. From then on, Jasper's behaviour started to get strange. One day I usually started preparing dinner around 6 p.m. so it would be ready when Jasper got home. But that day, due to being busy with errands and visiting my parents, I hadn't started cooking when he arrived. "What? It's this late already?" he snapped. "Sorry, I haven't started dinner yet," I said. He snapped, "What? Dinner's not ready yet? What have you been doing all day?" His sudden yelling made me flinch. "I'm sorry," I replied, "but I'm not just lounging around at home all day." "Whatever. Don't irritate me. If there's no dinner, I'm going out for a drink," he said, and left. He didn't come home that night. From that day, I became more diligent. I made sure dinner was ready by the time he came home and did all the household chores without slacking. But no matter how hard I tried, Jasper never returned to the kind husband he once was. Lately, he rarely came home, always using work or business meetings as excuses. Eventually, we even started sleeping in separate bedrooms. Our relationship deteriorated to the point where we no longer had any physical intimacy, making the prospect of having children even more unlikely. Despite rarely being home, he would say, "You stay at home since I'm working outside and earning. Don't splurge with the money I make." He wouldn't even let me have lunch with friends. When I wore an old outfit from the back of my wardrobe, he exploded, "Hey, when did you buy that outfit?" "I didn't buy any new clothes. This is an old one." "Fine then, but don't you dare splurge on cosmetics or clothes. Remember your place as a homemaker." "If you're going to say that, then I might as well go back to work," I retorted, fed up with his nitpicking. "What? Making the woman work would make me look like a failure. Just do as you're told," he shouted and stormed back to his room, slamming the door. Tears welled up in my eyes as I watched him leave. Can this really be called a marriage? I felt like nothing more than a housekeeper without a salary or days off. A housekeeper who gets paid and has days off is treated far better. The idea of divorce crossed my mind many times. I tried to reach out, saying, "We don't need kids. Let's just go back to being a happy couple like we used to be." But he flew into a rage. "What are you saying? You're blaming me. Are you calling me defective?" I wanted to argue back that nobody was saying that, but I knew it would just lead to more yelling. so I held my tongue. Day after day, I did housework without thanks or recognition, just going through the motions. After about 6 months of living like this, my husband unusually initiated a conversation with me. "Hey, how much is our electricity bill?" Jasper, who always said, "Save money, don't splurge," never really handled our finances, so he had no clue about our utility and grocery bills. I was surprised by his sudden interest and responded with a puzzled look. "What's up? Just tell me." "It's around $200. $200? That's way too high," he exclaimed, looking genuinely shocked. I couldn't understand why he was so shocked. "What? That's pretty normal, I think. Sure, it's a bit higher in winter because of the heating. That's too much for winter. When I'm at work, are you just wasting electricity by watching TV and running the air conditioner?" "What?" "I always try to use less electricity during the day. I often use a kotatsu, which is relatively cheaper to run. I hardly watch TV, and it's you who stays up late playing games with the air conditioner on." Yet he seemed irritated after hearing about the electricity bill. "So how much do we spend on food?" "Let's see, about $600. "What? That's way too much. How can it be that high without splurging?" Jasper raised his voice again, his eyes widening in surprise. His astonishment surprised me even more. "Are you serious? Don't you know that prices are skyrocketing? Vegetables and eggs are getting more expensive." "Quiet! I know prices are skyrocketing. Are you making fun of me?" he exclaimed. "No, that's not it," I replied, holding back the urge to ridicule him. I never thought my husband would be so ignorant of the ways of the world, but of course I didn't say that out loud. "You're splurging too much on electricity and food. As a homemaker, you should manage better. Don't tell me you're also spending that much on clothes and cosmetics behind my back." I haven't spent any money on my beauty expenses at all. I too want to dress fashionably and desire new clothes and cosmetics. However, knowing how stingy my husband is, he would undoubtedly complain if he found out I had bought such things, saying things like, "with my money," or "for a mere homemaker like you." That's why I only buy the bare necessities and try to save on groceries and electricity bills. Despite all that, I was so frustrated that I bit my lip. Then my husband said something outrageous. "Listen, I didn't let you be a homemaker so you could live in luxury. From now on, keep the electricity bill under $14 and the daily food expenses to $2. And don't spend anything on cosmetics or clothes. Got it?" I was shocked by his unrealistic demands. "That's impossible." "If you can't do it, it just means you're not capable enough," he retorted. "That's unreasonable." There was no way to live on such a meagre amount. Jasper, who had lived with his parents until our marriage and never experienced living alone, left all the financial management to me. He seemed to lack a basic understanding of normal expenses. I was thinking about how to explain this to him when he interrupted my thoughts. "What are you staying quiet for? This is why I hate homemakers who can't do anything. If you can't listen to me, feel free to leave this house." Jasper's mean words left me stunned. He looked down at me with a smirk. "Ah, you have no money, no job, no brains. You're just a useless person who can't do anything without me," he laughed mockingly. A wave of anger rose within me. Jasper had really changed. The kind, albeit clumsy Jasper I knew was gone, never to return. His mocking laughter deeply disappointed me. Enough is enough, I thought. I was foolish to have dedicated my life to such a man. The next day, Jasper, looking satisfied after his tirade, was seen off by me as usual. "You know, Jasper, I'll take your words to heart from yesterday. I'll be careful not to waste any money," I said, forcing a smile. But Jasper didn't notice the change in my demeanour. "If you understand, that's good. If you change, I guess I can keep you around," he said with a triumphant smile, and cheerfully left for work. I immediately called my in-laws. My parents lived far away, and I couldn't see them often, but my in-laws, who lived about a 20-minute drive from my house, had always been kind to me. They were my lifeline. When I told my mother-in-law what was happening, she was shocked and upset. "What? Jasper said that? Why didn't you tell us sooner, making you suffer like that?" I could hear her voice shaking with anger and tears over the phone. Her kind words made me tear up too. "I've been a homemaker for years, and Sally, you've been doing great and saving a lot. Jasper just doesn't understand," she said. I calmed down my panting mother-in-law, asking, "Can you help me with something?" She readily agreed, saying, "Let's show him what happens when you anger a woman." She was even more enthusiastic than me. That evening, Jasper returned home at the usual time. Usually, when he texted, "I'm coming home," I would warm up dinner and unlock the door. But not today. Thinking the door was unlocked, Jasper rattled the entrance a bit, then used his key to enter. "Hey, Sally, why didn't you unlock the door?" he yelled, jasperping down the hallway. My husband opened the living room door and instantly let out a scream. I sat at the dining table with candles lit. "Welcome back," I said quietly. "What are you doing? Why haven't you turned on the lights?" "You said to keep the electricity bill under $14, right? Since our house is all electric and there are basic charges, using any electricity would go over the limit, so I cancelled it." "Cancelled? Stop lying! What kind of nonsense is that?" Jasper fumed, clicking the light switch in frustration. Of course, I hadn't actually cancelled anything. I just turned off the breaker, but Jasper, clueless as he is, wouldn't realise that clicking it repeatedly wouldn't change anything. "You really cancelled it? Why would you decide that on your own?" "Oh, but I have a flashlight and candles. See, this way we can stay within the $14 limit, right?" I said, feigning innocence. Jasper sighed deeply, visibly frustrated. "Fine, whatever. Hey, what about dinner?" "Dinner is ready. Here you go." On the dining table, lit by candles, there was just one cup of ramen noodles. "What the heck is this?" Jasper's eyes widened in shock again. Calmly, I replied, "You said the food budget is $2 per day, so today's main dish is ramen noodles. They're delicious, right?" Seeing my smile, Jasper looked utterly appalled. "Have you lost your mind? Forget it. I don't need dinner. I'm going to take a bath." He grabbed the flashlight and jaspered off to the bathroom. Watching him go, I smirked. The moment he turned on the shower, only ice-cold water came out. "Cold! So cold!" I heard a scream from the bathroom. "What the hell?" "I told you it's all electric, right? No hot water. Didn't you know that?" The sight of Jasper biting his lip in frustration was almost comical. While he shivered from the cold, I quickly collected his flashlight and clothes and returned to the living room. From the bathroom, I heard him. "The cold! I'm going to catch a cold. Where are my clothes? Hey, Sally!" Jasper, always relying on me for post-bath preparations, was clueless without his towel and clothes. He came into the living room dripping wet. "Hey, why didn't you come when I called? Where are my towel and clothes?" He sneezed, chilled from the winter cold water. "Towel? Clothes? I threw away your old pyjamas because they were tattered. I wanted to buy you new ones, but you said yesterday no money for clothes or cosmetics. So I didn't buy pyjamas or towels thinking it might be a waste. Oh, but I do have this." "Do you want it?" I offered him a rag. "This? It's a rag. Are you joking?" he asked. "I only bought rags for the end-of-year cleaning, so this is all we have," I explained. "Don't mess with me. There's a limit to how much you can mock your husband," he yelled, venting his anger all over the living room. Then, from the darkness, a deeper male voice spoke up. "Who's the one joking around here, huh?" At that moment, my mother-in-law flipped the breaker back on, filling the room with light. Jasper, still adjusting to the sudden brightness, squinted towards the source of the voice. "Mum? Dad? Wait, the lights are on? My husband was confronted with his parents. Arms crossed, he seemed unable to grasp the situation and panicked, still completely undressed. My mother-in-law, seeing Jasper in his bare state, scolded, "You're the worst, showing us such an indecent sight," and threw his pants at him. Unfortunately for Jasper, the buckle of the belt hit him right in his sensitive area. "Ouch!" he cried in pain, writhing on the floor. I couldn't help but let out a snicker at the sight. "Sally, you laughed, didn't you?" Jasper glared at me, still in pain. Then my father-in-law intervened. "Don't look at Sally like that." "I'm sorry," Jasper said, scolded like a rebuked puppy by his own parents. He quickly dressed and sat down. "We came to talk to you because we heard you were saying some nonsensical things, right, Mum?" "That's right. And look at this mess. I'm so ashamed as a mother," she said. "I'm just an incompetent housewife, so it's impossible for me to cut down the electricity bill to $14, food expenses to $2 per day, and spend nothing on cosmetics and clothes. That's why I asked your mum, who was an experienced homemaker, and my own mother to come over." Just then my mother, who had been waiting in the bedroom, appeared. "It's been a while, Jasper." Jasper's face turned pale as he saw my smiling mother. "You too? I'm an experienced homemaker, but even I can't live on the budget Jasper suggested," she said. "Exactly. Our foolish son here doesn't seem to understand that. Jasper, can you explain how to manage within such a budget? I'm incompetent, so I don't know. Please teach us both." My mother and mother-in-law approached Jasper, looking furious. Jasper was sweating profusely despite the winter cold. "I'm so sorry," he finally apologized to me. Then we heard his phone ring from the living room. Realizing something was wrong, Jasper looked alarmed. My father-in-law hurried to answer the phone and put it on speaker. "Hey, Jasper, you called earlier saying you were coming over, but you haven't arrived yet. I'm getting tired of waiting." A sweet female voice came through. All four of us glared at Jasper in unison. "No, it's not what it looks like," my husband stammered, eyes darting around in confusion and agitation. Meanwhile, from his phone, voices kept calling out, "Jasper, hello, are you there? May I use his phone?" I took my husband's phone from my father-in-law and answered the call myself. "Hello, is this Zara?" "Who are you?" The woman's voice dropped in tone. "I'm Jasper's wife. He's been a handful, hasn't he? I'm offering this worthless husband to you. Just so you know, I'll be expecting alimony from you too, so be ready when the paperwork arrives." I hung up abruptly. Jasper, whether from cold or fear, started trembling uncontrollably. In the end, when confronted, my husband admitted that it was his mistress Zara who suggested these impossible financial limits. Zara, a 21-year-old junior from his hometown, had told my husband, "I wouldn't waste money like your wife." She suggested unrealistic living expenses and insisted I could do it. I couldn't believe how gullible Jasper had been. Neither of them had ever lived on their own, so a little internet research would have shown them how impossible those figures were. "Who's the incompetent one now?" I said with a broad smile. "Jasper, let's get a divorce, shall we?" I presented him with the divorce papers I had prepared. "Think it over, okay?" he pleaded. "Too late for that." His pleas for me to reconsider the divorce, or at least waive the alimony, were cut short when my father-in-law gave him a firm slap. Jasper covered his face, tears welling up in his eyes. "What are you doing? Stop this nonsense!" Under my father-in-law's stern gaze, Jasper signed the divorce papers and agreed to pay the alimony in full. A week later, the divorce was finalised. Thanks to the intervention of my in-laws, it was decided that my husband would pay me a lump sum of $20,000 as alimony. I also received $144,000 from Zara, resolving everything amicably. "We'll miss you, Sally, but go find happiness with someone better than our foolish son," my in-laws said. "Please don't say we won't meet again. I've come to see you as my second parents. May I visit you again?" They were overjoyed, tears in their eyes. As for Jasper and Zara, I neither know nor care what became of them. I don't want to know and have no interest. I only wish them the unhappiness they deserve. As for me, 2 years after divorcing Jasper, I found a new boyfriend. He's kind and treasures me. I look forward to possibly remarrying and having children in the future, living happily ever after.